Welcome to the Ladies Discourse. This is your girl Sha.
And your girl Taz.
Today we're going to talk about mental health. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and hit the notification button. We appreciate you listening and definitely will appreciate you subscribing. Today we're going to talk about mental health. As you may know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental Health Awareness Month helps people recognize the ways mental illness impacts their lives, educates people about available services, and highlights ways to advocate someone who is experiencing mental illness. On our last episode, we talked about trauma, and we thought it would be appropriate to talk about mental health and some of the services available. One of the services that I would like to talk about is EAP, and that stands for Employee Assistance Program. Most large companies, even mid-sized and smaller companies, offer EAP. And what it is a voluntary work-based program that offers free and confidential assessments, short-term counseling, referrals, and follow-up services to employees who have personal and or work-related problems. The service that they offer are confidential. Confidential. So an individual can take part in the EAP program services without having to worry about a fellow colleague or their supervisor, knowing that they're seeking help for various things like mental health, help with mental health, substance abuse, domestic violence, ways they could help control their debt, etc. Unfortunately, many employees don't use EAP because they're worried about the stigma that's associated with it. They may be ashamed that if they're having a problem with a relationship breaking up or divorce or substance abuse, or they may be embarrassed that they're struggling with a mental health issue. But again, I want to reiterate that the services are confidential. And in reference to them having a stigma attached to using the services, I do want to say that things are changing a little bit. I think I was telling you, Taz, that I was with some friends, and two of them were talking about the different therapists that they were going to. And then one of them, another third person, she was asking them about their therapist. And then one of the ladies that was seeing a therapist, she said, "You're not seeing a therapist?" Like it was almost normal to have a therapist. So I'm glad to see that people are more open to talking about having a therapist. And just to go over how the EAP program works, one would look on their at their benefits package and there should be a number for the EAP. Say an employee is having difficulty with depression. They could call the EAP number and let them know what they're experiencing. And usually the EAP program offers the employee to have 5 or 6, it depends on the employer, 5 or 6 free face to face counseling sessions with a therapist. And they have a list of people in their network, or, well, you have to see someone in the network, but the list could be very extensive. So if you have a friend that recommends a therapist, you could have them check to see if that therapist is available. So a lot of times I think people don't seek the help because they may feel it's not affordable, but this is a free service that a lot of companies offer. And this is something that, for various reasons, people don't use. I think a lot of times with our benefit package, we look at, what health insurance is offered, what dental, eye, and, a few other things. But there's some other services that are available that are not typical, that we should look at those and utilize those when need be. So, I just wanted to go over that service, and even if somebody doesn't want to do the face-to-face counseling, they have a lot of times 24 hours, 7 day a week people that you could call and talk to on the EAP line. Yes.
Right,
So,
right. No, that was excellent, excellent information. And I'm going to throw another one in, which will be 211, which is nationwide. They have a lot of services as well where people can direct you, based on where you're living through your zip code for different
mhm.
services like counseling or um, substance abuse help, homelessness, food stamps, shelter, and the list goes on and on. So, if nothing else, don't forget about that as well. 211 is a great resource and it's easy to remember. So
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So, Taz, just to keep the conversation going, what do you think causes mental health problems?
so many things, but it's the normal. I believe, most mental health problems are caused by traumas, such as physical, mental, and emotional abuse.
Mhm.
um and then you have, some issues can be related, or mental health problems can be related to just having um health issues. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people this day and age have, cancer, or they're diabetic, or autoimmune diseases and stuff like that. They can really kind of mess with their mental, because they went from being healthy to now not being that well. So that can also kind of trigger, that mental health problem.
Mhm.
I think those are some. I think, a lot of that, just what people are seeing, what people are going through, what people experience, things that just kind of leave a bad imprint,
Mhm.
and just someone that can't deal with it. So they just kind of, it starts to eat at them, and
Wow.
it starts to show, in different ways.
Mhm. I agree with that. I think a lot of times it's due to different things that may have happened to a person as a child,
Hmm.
and they never get the help that they need for that issue, and it just continues on. So
Absolutely.
yeah, there's a number of things like you said.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, Sha, what have you learned over the years about mental health and how important it is, for, people to address it once you realize someone is suffering, or, suffering with it?
I think our mental health is more important than we realize. I
Hmm.
think we concentrate more so on our physical health, but our mental health, it affects so many areas of our life, like
Absolutely.
relationships, having a fulfilling career, and on to our physical health. If our mind is not right, I think it could cause us to have different aches and diseases in our body.
So
I
true.
think I think mental health is just as important, if not more important, than your physical health. But I think for whatever reason, we just don't. I think a lot of times people can have mental health and not know it. I mean, mental health issues and not know it. And I think they could be totally functional. They could, to have normal conversations, go to work, and just have relationships and still have mental health. And but whereas with the physical health, they may know it, like if their arm is
Right.
hurting or if something's growing on their
Right.
body or something, they know that's wrong. But I think it could go undiagnosed a lot.
Right. Yeah, it's almost like a, how people say a silent killer. It's kind of like that in a sense, because not everyone is
Mhm.
aware until they become aware or someone points that out within them, you know,
Mhm.
or they
And
just, or
then
their body or their physical body just, because like I think they go hand in hand. Like you said, if one is not right, the other is not. So it's like,
mhm.
and to the point where your mental just really, really puts a toll on your physical, and it's almost like you just have a nervous breakdown. So,
Mm. Yeah, yes. Yes, it's something. It's and I think especially in the African American community, I think now more so we are okay with getting therapy, but before I think there was a large stigma on getting help for mental health
right.
issues.
Right. But I think now a lot of influential people are talking more about it that are of color. And it's like you
Mm,
said, it's becoming okay, so it's allowing, the people that are not in the limelight to say, okay, well, if they can do it, and they have all the
hmm.
money and the fame and the fortune, then someone like myself, should look into it. So, you know,
Right. That's a good point.
hmm and it's unfortunate because you shouldn't have to necessarily look at someone, but I guess however you get it, it's better to get it than not to get it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know.
Yeah. What do you think someone should do if they are worried about a friend or relative's mental health?
Well, I think they should definitely take it serious.
Hmm.
That's number one. And just because you have so many people out here that are taking their lives, you know what I'm saying? And I think a lot of it is because of the mental strain that they have, and they feel like they have nowhere to go or to turn to. I know when we mentioned in the last episode about the traumas, and we talked about the mass shootings, and I mentioned one about that was going to occur on May 7th, but I didn't realize the one that you spoke about was the one that happened the day after. So, you know those type of things have you wondering. I know they had gotten that guy, but like I said, sometimes people say what they're going to do, but it's really someone else, and someone did commit something, but it was the next day. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I thought that
Hmm.
was interesting. But like I said again, it goes to show you that it's a lot of people dealing with a lot of things, and they don't know how to cope. And sometimes, unfortunately, they take it out on everyone, including themselves. But like I said,
Yeah.
definitely take it seriously and speak to that person, that you're concerned about. You know,
Hmm.
if that person's not willing to open up to you and you just can't get through to them, give them the resources, like some of the things that we mentioned a little earlier, or just try to have them confide in someone professional or someone they trust. You know, however,
Hmm.
if they do confide in you, just be that listening ear and try not to judge them or their situations.
Right.
So that's,
Yeah.
it's a lot when it comes to that, because like I said, it's almost like a ticking time bomb. Is it something that has to be very, very handled very delicately. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because you just don't know which way it can fall. You know,
Right. Very timely.
right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let me ask you, are you able to identify mental health issues in others? And if so, what are some of the things you've noticed in people who are suffering with mental health?
I don't know if I'm able to identify mental health issues in others per se. I do recognize when someone feels uncomfortable talking about a certain subject,
Hmm.
and it may kind of trigger them that it makes me think that they may have some unresolved issues in that area, but
Hmm.
I don't know per se if that's actually mental health. I did look, and there are some signs and symptoms of someone having that could be aware of to tell us that someone is having some mental health issues. and they include the following: um, changes in how a person feels about themselves or others or certain situations, persistent feelings of negative emotions such as sadness or hopelessness,
Mhm.
feeling socially withdrawn, change in habits or routines into unhealthy ones. You may have a person that whenever they leave the house, they look, nice and normal, hair comb, matching clothes, and then they just change from not combing their hair to
Right.
throwing on anything. That may make you say, is something going on with that person? Or someone that may be a social drinker, have one or two glasses of wine a week, to drinking a whole quart of
Right.
alcohol a day. Those are signs that something is going on with an individual. And also that they may be very fatigued and having trouble sleeping.
Right.
So,
Right. And a lot of those that you mentioned definitely falls in the category of, depression, which, like I said, with mental health, there's so many different, different, I guess, titles that can fall underneath that. And from
mhm,
what you mentioned, a lot of that does sound like depression,
mhm,
which
mhm.
I think a lot of us, kind of suffer, in silence, whether we realize it or not. So
Right. Yeah, it's a lot,
it
but
is.
there's help, and there's, people to answer questions about it and to guide you through it. We just have
Absolutely.
to try to get the help.
Right, right. And again, don't be ashamed to ask for it when you feel like you're not, well, how can I say, like when you're not feeling your normal self, or you can't really comprehend what you're going through.
Mm, right. That's a good point.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, what is something that you do to relieve some of the stress of life? That,
Well,
I,
for me, it's not much, but I do try to do a couple of things, just to, I do things pretty much that kind of make me feel good.
mhm,
And that kind of ease my mind. I enjoy listening to instrumentals, R&B music, or smooth jazz, or some reggae to pick me up.
mm,
I like to create. Maybe I'll start a project or try to invent something that is useful to others. I
mhm.
may go get a massage. It's one thing about the massage places, it's like as soon as you walk in, the ambiance, the smell, the
Yeah,
music, it's just like
yeah.
instantly it just strips away how you was feeling, once you go through those doors.
Mhm.
I go camping, when the weather is
Oh,
nice.
yeah. Glamping?
Yeah, yeah. I pick up my things and I just go, because camping comes with a such a freeing experience. Or, one of my favorites, I like to go to the casino, just driving to a whole nother state, just driving it gives you time to think, to reflect. And then when I get in that atmosphere, I just kind of, utilize, and take advantage of all the offers, whether it's a free hotel stay or a spa deal or free food or free gameplay. And I just get lost in the sounds and people are having a good time and the
Mhm.
lights and, stuff like that. And just kind of let that, of course, win money. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, don't forget that.
Right, but, just trying to take my mind far, far and away from things that are bothering me or things that I just can't control or that's out of my control. You know,
Okay.
um, I also like to go fishing or, I enjoy riding on bike trails, so, you know,
Hmm.
but like with anything, I try to do things in moderation because too much, if anything, can, cause another problem, so it's with
Right.
anything, you have to do it in moderation.
That fishing sounds really relaxing.
It
And the
is, it
spa.
is. Mhm.
Yeah, and the camping.
Right,
Yeah,
right. Because
being out in
everything,
nature.
absolutely, because everything doesn't have to be things that you have to pay for. You just have to find what gives you that comfort, and I think everybody in the world has it. You just have to find it, or you have to go back to that safe space. A lot of people don't, because say, oh, my life is just so chaotic, but is I think everyone can find time to say, you know what, I did enjoy reading books, or I did like to play basketball, or I did like to run, or
Mhm.
I like to cook. I like, just
Mhm.
things that kind of take you away from those stresses, or those hurts, pains, traumas, or just mental things that are just bringing you down,
Right.
and just try to go to those moments, even if it's just for a moment. You'll be surprised how that can shift your energy, you know?
That's true. That
Yeah.
is very true.
And there's other things and tips, like they say, staying positive. It says it's important to try to have a positive outlook. Some ways to do it is including being balanced and just being, you know, like they said, the balance between being positive and having those negative emotions. So it's just like you got to kind of balance it. You can't have it one way more than the other. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
I think that's
And
important.
concentrate on the positive. I think a
Right.
lot of times we concentrate on the negative, but we should
Right.
do the opposite.
And it's sad because a lot of times it seems like it's more easier to be in that negative state, than it is to be in that positive state. And then I think, you know, and I could be wrong about that, but it just seemed like now times are different, where it seemed like you do stay in that low space more than you stay in that high space.
Mhm.
But other things they say we can do is stay active. It says being active is good for the brain, and it's good for the body. So
What is that saying? The idle mind is a devil's workshop.
absolutely, absolutely. They said learn how to keep your stress levels in check. They said eat a brain healthy diet to support strong mental health. And that's a lot of the times too. Our diets are so out of whack. A lot of this food is not, again, we talked about this before, it's just not what it used to be. And, all the toxins and pollutants that's in our food,
Mhm.
it does a doozy on our brain, which a lot of people don't really know. It's so many things now that is coming up with metals in it, and metals and metals, metals. And so can you imagine what it's doing to our brain? So
Mm.
when you think about mental health, you got to say it's not always just things that we've experienced, but it can be things that we're ingesting. You know what I'm saying? That
Right.
our brain can't process or push out, and or our bodies. And then they say too, don't skimp on sleep. It
Mm.
matters more
That's
than we think.
huge.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think people will skip sleep all the time and think it's okay as long as they can function the next day. But our body goes through a healing process while we sleep. So, and then too, you don't want to be irritable the next day and stressed out. Oh, I'm kind of tired. I got to go through a whole nother day of work. So, yeah, sleep is extremely important.
Yes, absolutely. Let's see. And they also say acts of giving and kindness can also help improve our mental well-being, by creating positive feelings and a sense of reward.
Hmm.
So, I know again it's easier said than done, but it's just simply just try one day just smiling, or just smiling at people, or just doing some good deeds, and just see how it could change not only how you feel about what you was doing that day, but someone else. And maybe
Right.
they'll pass it along and pass it along. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Sometimes
Yeah.
we have to do those little experiments just to make someone else's day better.
Hmm. Cool.
I know. Let me see. I had a little article. I know they were saying, according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, 1 in 5 American adults experience a mental health condition each year. 1 in 6 young people have experienced a major depressive episode. Then it went on to say 1 in 20 Americans have lived with a serious mental illness, such as schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or major depression. In 2020, 21% of U.S. adults experienced a mental health condition. 5.6% of U.S. adults experienced a serious mental health condition in 2020. which is often defined as a psychotic disorder, bipolar disorder, or a severe anxiety or eating disorder that significantly impaired functioning. Then it went on to say each year, serious mental illnesses cost the United States almost 200 billion in lost earnings.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's a lot. It's a lot.
Mhm.
Those numbers is pretty high. So it goes to show, it's a real thing, and it's out here, and that's why we have to help one another and love on one another, and like we always say, check in
Mhm.
for real.
Yes. Yeah.
And do what you can, because like I said, some people just, oh, how are you, how you doing, and they'll listen, and and that's the end of that. But we really have to, it's almost like we have to be that community. You know what I'm saying? We have to be that, sometime that extra leg, sometime that extra arm, sometime that extra brain. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think we have to start taking that more seriously if we want to make it out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because, like we were saying, that individual may not even realize what they're going through,
Right.
but maybe the outside, another set of eyes could help them
Hmm.
realize what's going on
Right.
and direct them to the help that they may need.
Right. And that's why I try to tell people, because we're living in a day where a lot of people are self-preserved, but you can't be self-preserved, because when you're so self-preserved, you're not, you're like, almost like you're in a bubble. I'm only accountable for me. But if you could have did one thing to help that person next to you who was chaotic or erratic or whatever, you know, you understand what I'm saying? So it's like you really just can't be just self-preserved. You have to say, you know what? Okay, even though that I'm good, let me see what I can do to help someone else be
Mhm.
good. You know what I'm saying? Most people don't
Yes.
have the time nor the patience to really help someone through something. And I don't think that's fair, and I don't think it's nice. And that's why so many people are struggling. That's why so many children are taking their lives. That's why so many,
Mm.
adults are taking their lives. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because they feel like no one cares, no one understands, no one is listening, and most importantly, everyone is about self.
And
So,
you really can't be self you said self-preserved. You
mhm,
really we all need each other.
right.
And my grandmother used to say that if you have children, you are going to need help from somebody.
Mhm.
But I have learned as a person without children, you're going to need help from somebody. It's
Absolutely.
just, that's just the way it
Absolutely.
is,
Listen,
period.
we was born by ourselves, but that don't mean we go through life by ourselves. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? And we may leave by ourselves, but like I said, even when it goes down to that last day, which someone is still there. At least you
Hmm.
hope and pray that. But no, we have to know that we have to look out for others, and we have to be. And I ain't gonna say, I hate to use the word, I guess, accountable, because it's like, how can you be accountable for someone else? But we should kind of feel like that to a degree,
Hmm.
because like I said again, that's why people are doing some of the things that they're doing, because they don't know how to cope.
Hmm.
And if my smile, or me saying, "How are you today?" or
Hmm.
"Is this something I could do?" You know what I'm saying? Like you say, just simple steps, smiling, open up the door for someone. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. You see an elderly person. Can I assist you with your groceries? Or just acts of kindness goes a long way, and you'd be
It
surprised how
does.
it changes the morale, or even the energy that surrounds us on this planet. You know what I'm saying? Just imagine every day we try to do something that is conscious and positive. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? How much it can shift the energy. Uh,
Yeah,
You know,
everybody. Hopefully it would be contagious.
right, right. But then sometimes it's good to just to say, "Hey, today I'm doing a good deed. Can you pass along a good deed?" And just kind of get a habit of, just when you're out, and not being afraid to ask someone that, even someone that you wouldn't even want to approach. Why not? Because
Hmm.
you'll be surprised. What you're saying is positive. You're not going to necessarily get something negative back. You know what I'm saying? You'll be
Right.
surprised. You may see the person, he look like the meanest person on the block, but try it. You'll be surprised. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So, I think it's a lot, that we can do. It's a lot of resources. Never give up. Keep seeking those resources, and do not be afraid, to get the help when you need the help. And if, even when someone is pointing it out to you, be open minded.
Mhm.
Don't take offense. Don't, shut down, because it could save your life,
Yes.
you know.
And even like say someone points something out to you and say you're in disagreement or you don't see what they're saying, it may not hurt to call 211. Okay, or call your EAP person and just run by what's going on, let them know what's going on, and they may be, you could just talk to a professional there. It may be, oh no, that's not what they thought. It's probably just this. Try XYZ, or
Right,
they may say it is what they think, and let
right,
us refer you to a therapist or another service.
right,
So it just
right,
doesn't hurt to check.
right. So, last but not least, Sean, can you give us some words of encouragement to those that are struggling to maintain a healthy mindset?
Yes, I could give you some words of encouragement. Do not feel like you are alone. Find someone to talk to. Call a friend, or like I said, maybe call EAP to talk to them. And there's just some things, a lot of the things you mentioned already, Taz, that could help with the healthy mindset. Getting the proper amount of sleep, you mentioned that. Physical activity. My go-to is walking. Just walking can help you like clear your mind and get rid of stress. And try to cultivate healthy relationships with a good sense of community. That could help with a healthy mindset. Not isolating yourself by alone. That's not good. But having a community of friends and family could help. We are social beings and we do not need to deal with things on our own. And there's charitable organizations like Samaritans or Mine that could help. Again, you're not alone. Sometimes people feel that way, but they're not.
Right, right, right. Well, thank you very much for that. I hope all that is listening, if you're going through something, pray and look for, a new day. Just because today was bad doesn't mean tomorrow will be, you know. So
Hmm.
don't ever lose focus of that, or like sight of that. Every day will not be a rainy day. And even though you might have had many rainy days, the sun will shine
Yes.
if you
Yeah.
believe.
Hmm.
So, well, that concludes our show for today, guys. As always, thank you for listening, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Until next time.